listings and surveillance in Norway. For Minister Sreide, what was your message to the minister and Minister Çavuşoğlu? How did you respond? And also, just very shortly, if you could remind us, Minister Sreide, about the Norwegian position when it comes to F-35 and the S-400. Does Norway support the American stance when it comes to Turkey's participation in this program? Thank you.
So I'll begin with the question on human rights. Well, as I mentioned in my introduction, we have raised the concern for Norwegian citizens who are facing legal repercussions in Turkey due to demonstrations or activities that they have been engaging in Norway that are perfectly legal in Norway. And we have had a very, I would say, open and frank exchange also this time on the issue of having different legal frameworks. What is allowed in Norway can be illegal in Turkey. My point has been that Norwegian citizens who are engaged in legal activity in Norway should not face legal repercussions in Turkey. When it comes to the listings, I also got assurances from Mevlüt that the CETA report that you are referring to, which has listings of several Norwegians who have, for instance, signed different kind of petitions and other things in Norway and participated in demonstrations, they should not be met with or faced with, for instance, investigations based on that report or that listing in Turkey. And that is also an assurance that Mevlüt has given me, and I think that is good because that is also a concern that we have. We want to see, of course, our Norwegian citizens face both the freedom of expression here in Norway as in Turkey, but we also have a different view, and I think it's fair to say that we have a different view when it comes to what should be under the freedom of expression. We have wide frames here in Norway. There are different legal status in different countries, but that is also why I raised the concern that we have, and I feel that the discussion we had was open, good, frank, and also quite clear from both sides, and that's good. When it comes to the S-400 and F-35 issues, we have also been clear, both in NATO and outside of NATO, that it poses a challenge. It is no doubt that introducing a Russian air defense system into NATO, even though it's not being integrated into NATO systems, it is, of course, a challenge. And that is also why this has been part of our discussions here, but also previously. The last time we discussed it was actually in Washington some months ago. And what will happen in the future is, of course, not easy to say as of now, given the fact that these systems are now introduced and being operational. And, of course, there is a dialogue between Turkey and the US when it comes to the F-35 program. And so far, it is an American decision, since it is an American program, to block Turkey from the program. And then we will have to see and look into that together with the other partners in the program when we look a bit into the future as well.
This is all. Oh, sorry.
Let me also answer. Thank you very much for your question. First of all, on those two citizens, and they are subject to investigation because of their support to a terrorist organization, PKK. PKK claimed more than 40,000 lives in Turkey. They killed more than 40,000 Turkish citizens. And it is a listed terrorist organization. Freedom of expression and actively supporting terrorist organizations and their activities are totally different things. And such acts are also illegal in major European countries. For instance, in Germany. That's why Germany is banning the symbols of PKK and such kind of demonstrations also to support PKK activities. That's why recently there have been clashes between PKK supporters and German security forces. It has been also illegal in France, in UK. These are the democratic countries as well. Maybe your legislations are more liberal than other European countries and Turkey, but such activities to support actively terrorist acts is illegal in my country and in many European countries. So this has nothing to do with freedom of expressions. There are politicians, there are people in Turkey also which don't want to recognize PKK as a terrorist organization. I know in Europe also there are politicians, just because they are subscribing the same ideology, far left ideology. I have no problem with the ideology of anybody or any political party. I have full respect to any kind of ideology, even though I don't believe or I don't subscribe. And at the Council of Europe, everywhere there are politicians expressing their views openly that PKK should be listed out from the terror list. So this is freedom of expression you can take. But actively supporting a terrorist organization and raising funds for this terrorist organization voluntarily or forcibly should be illegal anywhere. Can we allow the activities of Daesh now in Norway or in any European countries? No, we cannot. So how can we tolerate the activities to support PKK, which is also listed terrorist organization? So when we avoid the double standards, we can easily overcome this kind of differences to my mind. So such activities of these two individuals that you mentioned is illegal, not only in Turkey, but also in almost all the European countries or EU member states. So, as I said, there are politicians here also supporting PKK, and because they just subscribe to the same ideology, which is okay. Maybe SETA is an independent think tank. Maybe according to their research, they listed this, but it doesn't mean that there is an ongoing investigation on these individuals unless we officially find out some evidence that any individual is actively supporting a terrorist organization. We cannot have such, investigation based on conspiracies or any research. Think tanks everywhere are making sometimes the reports that we don't like, but it is also their job. So this is what I also told my dear friend during our meetings.
This is all we had time for today. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.
One more question, because our international partners, AP and Reuters, are very interested in what you said about the Iranian oil tanker earlier. Can you just, do you have any news?
Let me clarify this, Ina, if you allow me. And this morning, I think there was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean that this tanker is going to a Lebanese port, but according to the information coordinates, it is heading to the territorial water of the country. But it doesn't mean that it is going to reach a Lebanese port. But for sure that I wanted to say that it is not coming to Turkish ports either. Thank you very much.
Thank you.